Welcome to the Southern U Podcast, brought to you by Darden Archery on the OKest Podcast Network, with your co-host, Matt Brock, Jeremy Ferguson, and Taylor McMurtry. If you're looking for all things land-related in the Southeast, you came to the right place. Whether it's real estate, habitat, wildlife, or just being outdoors, this is the place for you. Welcome to the Southern U. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern U Podcast, where we talk all things land related, right Matt?
Absolutely we do.
Right Jeremy?
That's it.
All right, I'm always joined by Mr. Matt Brock of Habitat First Properties.
Yes, sir.
I could have called you something else, but I didn't, because I'm a good guy.
The legend.
I didn't say it, he did. And you heard Mr. Jeremy Ferguson of Wildlife Consulting Services / Tut
Such
Land.
a weirdo.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
He's been called worse, I'm sure.
Oh, I've called him much worse.
Yeah. Everybody I call myself worse.
Gotcha. Well, and we also have a very special show for you today. We are joined by our special guest, Mr. Joseph Clark of First South Farm Credit.
Glad to be here, guys. It's been a little while.
I know,
About
man. It
a
has
year.
been a minute. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
You guys remember on the last episode, we were in Jeremy's shop pretending to not freeze to death. I think the last time that we were doing that one, I think. Was that the one?
Bunch of dang sissies.
Or was it?
It was
actually,
chilly.
it may not have been that episode.
Oh, it was that.
No, it
episode.
was that
It was
one.
chilly.
I was
Okay.
cold.
It was
Yeah.
cold in there.
I mean, there was one where we ate jalapeno,
I don't know.
Habanero, yeah.
whatever.
Brock,
Stupid.
yeah, Brock made everybody under the sun just die with his chewing on there.
Yes.
About right.
Yeah, there's a word for that. I can't remember what it's called, though. It's like a
Yeah.
whatever.
Ass.
Or that.
That's exactly what it's called.
Is
wasn't
that
doing
the
it-
technical term, what they call
I wasn't
it?
doing it intentionally.
That's an acronym for something, right?
Uh-huh. A stupid son of...
Oh, there you go.
Tone it down.
I did. I didn't say anything wrong.
Okay.
Wrong or incorrect? Which one?
Either one.
No, today we're going to talk a little bit about obviously, I mean, you guys know it's land related. We talk about it on here. We're talking about the land buying process, what's needed if, you have to purchase something and you don't have the money up front. You got to get a loan from somewhere, right? And somebody's got to front you that money, and that's what the guys at First South are really good at. Right, Joseph?
That's right. Yep. We First South Farm Credit land financing is kind of our bread and butter. We finance ag land, recreational land, hunting tracts, timber tracts, you name it. 20 acres to build your home on at some point in time in the future. But we mostly deal in our area with agricultural land. People looking to start a cattle operation or row crop or for the primary source of land in our area, we're looking at poultry financing. That's that's the biggest bulk of our business here in North Alabama. So
Yeah, there's a lot of it here. So
Where do we fall now, poultry wise? Are we still number 1 or 2? Or are we
I'd say
down 3 or 4 now?
DeKalb County is probably the number 1 poultry producing county in the country.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
I knew we were way up there.
Yeah.
We've bounced back and forth.
I forget how many millions of pounds of chicken come off this mountain each day.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're eating a chicken nugget, you can likely think
Good people
this
of
part of
Sand
the
Mountain.
world. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, between the integrators that we have here in our area, all the processing plants, I mean, we're set up to house a lot of chicken houses, and we've got a lot of income, a lot of revenue that this county and surrounding counties kind of benefit from, because poultry keeps the lights on in our office for sure.
Absolutely. No doubt. Well, and before we kind of get into that and talking land and lending money for that sort of thing, something we started doing, I don't know, several episodes ago, but just giving bi-weekly or episode shout-outs. So if there's anybody that you guys want to shout out and, on the podcast, here's your time to do it. Matt, you got anybody you want to throw out there for the world?
Yeah, actually, I think I might.
Yeah?
Yep. I want to shout out to Courtney Conring.
Our
CC.
new assistant chief.
New assistant chief. I hope she brings a little bit of,
Levity.
maybe,
Smarts.
to the
Did I say that?
administrative office down there.
And by down there, he means DCNR,
Yeah.
Montgomery.
Yeah.
We've been pretty critical of some of the staff.
Well, just
there
some of
in
the
past.
decisions that are made.
Yeah.
I'm not really critical of the staff, but
Yeah, you are.
no, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. We are too.
But either way,
times.
I feel like Courtney should do a good job.
Phenomenal
Yep.
job.
And I'm proud for her.
Yep. Yep.
Jeremy, you got anybody?
Let's let Joseph do his.
Okay. You
Can
got
I
one?
can I shout out my wife?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what?
Look at
man?
the
Why
theme.
all
That's
these
the
people
theme of
shout
the
the wives?
day.
What is the
So let
theme?
me tell you why I'm shouting out my wife. Today is
Uh-oh.
our 7-year wedding anniversary.
Today.
Congrats,
There you
man.
go.
And you chose to spend it
And
with
you're
us.
here,
I'm
man.
here. I'm
y'all,
here.
Y'all have officially made it. You know what I mean?
Jordan, we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, babe.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so my wife's birthday was yesterday.
How about that?
Yeah, 43. Should I say that out loud?
Oh,
I would.
man.
29, dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I should shout out my wife, but we'll save it for another episode. So I'm not like
Sorry,
everybody
May.
else.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Mamie. But shoot, man, I don't have anybody shout out this time.
Nobody.
No.
He's not.
Nobody's important.
Nobody's important.
Well, I thanked everybody that helped me during the stress time here recently. But
That's right.
well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give one of my fresh agents a little shout out. How about that? How about Kyle Green?
Hey,
There you go.
there we
That's
go.
a young fella that is absolutely getting it done in the land market.
Yeah, getting after it.
He's getting after it.
Way to go, Kyle.
Yep. Kyle, keep it up, buddy. You're going to do big things.
Yeah, send me your videos. You know what I mean? Send me the video work.
Yep.
So,
Speaking of, Kyle made the jaunt with you and I down in that hole
oh gosh,
in the canyon. And,
shout out to what I don't know what you want to call that, Rosalie.
yeah, it is the Rosalie, the Canyon View track, which is off the market, by the way. It's sold.
Yep,
Or under contract.
that's right.
There you go.
Did not take long.
3 days on the market.
Yeah, beautiful place though. I mean, it
A
was
challenging but beautiful place.
yes.
And I'm excited to see what the guys or the guy and the family that's purchasing it are going to do.
Yeah.
They plan on, I believe, having a home there and really wrapping their arms around that property. And it's cool.
It is cool. Coon Creek goes through that
Yeah.
place, and you got waterfalls and just I don't know.
You
Just a
can
really
you
cool
can
place.
stand on one bluff and look across to the other. And I shot it with a rangefinder. I think it was 680 something yards across the canyon,
Man.
and it drops 800 and something feet to the creek, and then rises over 900 feet to get to that point. So I'm talking a hole in the world.
And y'all walked every bit of this place.
We walked her.
Yeah, we got down there. More like rappelling
Yeah.
rather than so you
there's-
got like bluffs that were just straight down.
Yeah, and there's the crack, and literally it is a crack that you walk down through. It's a rock slide from who knows, 100 years ago, 1,000 years, who
Yeah.
knows, but it's about that wide, and you have to walk 100 yards maybe down through that,
Probably so.
and
yeah.
it's just you're holding on to the walls and trying not to slide down.
That would be so cool.
Spider-Man
That's
it
awesome.
down.
Yep.
I
And
called
then-
it Satan's butt crack.
Yeah, we really did. Yeah, and you hit the bottom, and then it's just giant hardwoods. It rolls down to the creek, and you turn around and look up, and it's I don't know. At that juncture, it's 50, 60, maybe 75 feet up to the top. That's just sheer rock wall where you've come out that crack. Mm-hmm. You just get down there and look, and it's just straight up.
Yeah,
It's cool.
it is really cool.
That's the dream, you know.
So anyway, yeah, we had fun shooting that one. I guess my shout out. I know we just did an episode with him, but I want to shout out Devin Campbell at Alabama
Yep.
Firearms Academy. Really cool place. I know, like I said, we've already done an episode with him, but if you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. I'm going to try, to highlight those guys just because of what they offer to the community,
Yeah.
and their facility is absolutely top notch.
Yeah, state of the art for sure. That was an awesome guy
really
too.
cool. Yes,
That little visit cost this guy some money.
So he's just spend money in there.
Easy. Yep. I'm excited about going up there. I had not been in the range.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go up there and shoot some because it's as aggravating as it is. Our dog is terrified of gunfire, and I don't shoot much at the house, even though I've got a range at the house, just because he gets beside himself. But that'd be nice to be able to go up there and just shoot pistols and whatnot in there. I mean, I got a big range further away from the house that I can shoot at, but handguns we just always shot off the porch, and I've got to burn them and everything there at the house. But
no doubt.
It's a really cool place. Yeah, we've did some church security training up there with Devin and his crew,
Yes.
and them guys, they know what they're doing, and that place, like you said, is it's state of the art.
It's awesome, man. I'm really happy for him. There's some people that like you just want to see them do well.
Yeah, you
know what
root
I mean?
for.
Yeah, and you just want to
Absolutely.
pull for them, and so it's cool to see how that place has come together. So
Yeah.
proud for him. Well, Joseph, we're gonna jump right in here, man.
Let's
if
do
you're
it.
good with it,
Yeah, come on.
This will be relatively easy lead off question, and I won't say they get progressively harder, but they might get sporadic.
Taylor, are you saying you're going to try to set him up and then jerk his drawers down in front of everybody?
Well, I definitely did not say that. No.
There may be some questions you asked me that I don't know how to answer.
Oh, nah, nothing too crazy.
He does it to us all the time. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt will just go, I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy? Jeremy will go, I don't know. What do you think?
It depends.
It
It depends.
Yeah. When all else fails on this podcast, just say it depends.
Yeah.
Let's see. First one here. What trends are you seeing right now in land prices, interest rates, and demand for rural or ag property?
Okay. So I'll leave land prices to Jeremy. That's
Oh,
kind
boy.
of his field of expertise. But interest rates are fairly stagnant right now. There's been some slight change up and down, but it's pretty well level right now. We were kind of hoping that some of the tariffs that Trump's imposing is going to hopefully drive the bond market and hopefully drive our interest rates down a little bit. But we haven't seen much change here as of lately. But we're holding on, and there's a lot of customers of ours that are trying to have some faith with us, trying to get a little bit cheaper interest rate, maybe that financed, last year in 23.
Sure.
But they're down a little bit from the peak of 9.25%.
Okay, we're good. I just want to make sure. Sorry.
Yeah, but they're down a little bit from the peak of 9.25% what we were seeing on land in late 23, early 24. But they're still holding around that 8% mark, 7.75. But the thing that somebody told me once, they said date your interest rate, marry your home or your land or a piece of property.
Yeah, I've heard that before too.
Because the land market, like you're saying, you had a tract that was listed and sold or under contract within 3 days. Land's moving fast, and if you want a piece of property and it's in your price range and you can afford it now, buy it.
Yeah.
And then let us reprice that note when rates come back down.
I have been amazed at listening to a handful of land agents talk about how they've not been real busy.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to wrap my head around, because land is not stagnant,
No.
whether it's financing or paying cash. Land is still moving, and I would say most of the transactions that I have seen are still financing.
Yeah.
They're not cash, but during these high rate hikes, you're going to see a lot of cash deals.
Yeah. I feel like people are starting to get a little bit more confidence in the market too, and
I would agree with
and
that.
trying to save some cash, save some liquidity.
I mean, I'm a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right now, things just aren't great, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at some other tracks and some other properties and working with you to try to get some of that done. And
Right.
It's not a bad time.
No, absolutely not. It's never a bad time to buy land.
And we've been ruined the last few years of the 3-4% interest rates there for several years. That is not normal.
No, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. Honestly.
I don't think we will either.
No. Yeah, I wish we would. I
Amen.
kind of got spoiled there for a little while.
Yeah, but the problem with cheap money is, you're not anybody that's got the money or lending the money. You're not making money when it's that cheap.
Yeah,
and that's tough.
it is. It's the volume makes up for it, though.
Yeah.
Because the market, in 19 and 20 was just stupid.
Those of us that's got money out there in CDs and whatnot that's drawing, what, 1/4%?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, baby, making big money.
My savings account's paying me 0.02%
Uh-huh.
right now.
Exactly.
Love it.
That's my point. But, yeah. So.
Yeah, it sounds like, especially land, and it's wide open. It's still super hot. I know maybe the residential market may not be quite as hot. I've seen where, like, I think a realtor somewhere, don't hold me to this, but I feel like I saw on Facebook someone local around here put that average home on market was around 62 or 3 days or something like that for homes. Saw that. And so I don't imagine that that's an untrue statement or anything like that.
No.
But it seems like
and
land.
Look, that is still, though, 62, 63 days. That's still flying off the shelf.
Yeah, still not.
For normal circumstances. The COVID era was totally different. But, to be able to put a house on the market, sell it in 60 days, game on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's easy. Yep. List your house.
Yep, no doubt.
I remember the days that, average bake time for even a house was several months. And land, could be a year or more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that, at least currently. Let's see. I mean, this would be more of a First South origin type question, I guess. But what made your bank decide to focus specifically on ag loans, recreational property, farmland? Like, what sets that market apart from maybe traditional lending?
So First South is a Farm Credit Administration regulated association. So that's what we're primarily set up to do. We're set up to finance agricultural purpose loans for farmers or part-time farmers. So that's kind of what we're regulated to do that. Now, if someone buys 10, 15, 20 acres, whatever, and they want to build a house on it at some point in the future, there's a possibility that we can do that. But for the most part, we primarily focus on, agricultural related loans as far as cattle financing, timber financing. Down in Louisiana, we have, crawfish farmers, rice farmers, sugarcane farmers. Up here, we have the traditional row crop, your corn, soybean, cotton, things of that nature. But for the most part, we focus on, people like you send me all the time that are looking for their 30, 40, 50, 60 acre tract that they want to have as recreational property for their family and for their kids to hunt on.
Right.
We love that. That's kind of what that's what makes my job enjoyable is to see somebody's dream come true. They're in their mid 30s, early 40s, and they're wanting to buy, their kids a place to go and enjoy the outdoors and raise them up like, we were probably all raised to hunt, fish, and just adventure. And, that's what we focus on primarily, and that's what I really love doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool because I did not have like bukus of land, to go mess around on when I was a kid, but we did always, it seemed like wherever we did live had some kind of little small stream, small creek. And even today, even right now, if you gave me the choice, we have one of the greatest largemouth bass fisheries in the world in our backyard. But you said, you want to go fish at the lake? You want to go fish in moving water and wade up the creek? Dude, I'm going to the creek.
I'm wade fishing every
Love
single
it,
time.
man. Love
Me
it.
too.
And so I don't know if that was just from being a kid and being to just tromp around in the creek and stuff like that, but I love that, and that's one of the reasons we have this place here is because I wanted my boys to be able to go, hey, Slab Creek is right there.
Yeah.
Go. I don't want to see you till dark.
Yep.
Go. You know what I mean? Go play.
Don't drown. Come back.
Yes.
Yeah, go explore. That's good. That's good for kids, and they need to get out and explore a little bit, not sit behind a tablet or an iPhone or whatever else all the time. Get out, go enjoy the outdoors, go enjoy what God's created for us. Go be a kid.
Yes.
Go have fun. Go get dirty.
Yep.
Now, what about? I'm fairly familiar, but just prompting questions. What about operating loans, equipment loans, things like that?
Yeah, so we do equipment financing, whether that be tractors, excavators, skid steers, whatever, you name it. We got options for that. Brand new, you're looking at a 7-year term with a competitive interest rate. Used equipment, you're limited to a 5-year term on those, just because of the risk involved with that piece of collateral. But we do have loan options for equipment, operating loans for row crop farmers, cattle farmers, just general expenses for poultry farmer or any other farming operation for that matter. We do have some options for that. We do a lot of in our area. Obviously, the cattle market's really blown out of proportion right now. We've got
guys. If you want to eat steak, you better get it now.
Yeah,
that's all I can tell you.
It's about to get expensive.
I told you. I don't know if I've told you.
You're gonna fall out.
You're gonna poop. You're gonna poo poo. Golly, my phone.
I don't want to quit ringing.
We sold a very small load. We got one little small pasture there by Dad's that's got, I think it's got 10 cows in it. It's all that's in that little small pasture. But he had 7 calves up there. 7 calves averaged in excess of $2,000 a head.
God.
One 600+ pound calf brought $2,600, I believe it was.
Dang.
I don't get it.
I mean, when you break that down to hanging weight, what you're actually getting at, when that's translated to beef or dog food or whatever it's translated to, that's insanely expensive.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know where we're headed with that. I'm excited about it because I got pastures full of calves. It's about ready to go.
Yeah.
But after that, I am very curious of where this cattle market is headed.
Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with one of our growers this morning, and he used to raise stocker cattle, but now he's changed over to a cow-calf operation just because, you're burying, when one of those stocker cattle die, you're digging a $3,500 hole.
And that can potentially be depending on how you buy your stockers, unfortunately, that can be a significant number of head.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what kind of stockers you're buying.
For sure.
If you're buying, rough looking, trying to build them up, then you're going to lose a percentage of those.
Mm-hmm. And I like you were talking about, I don't think we've seen the height of the beef prices on the shelf
futures
just yet.
are still seem to be climbing from what I've looked at. I hadn't looked at them in the last several days. But
Yeah,
I got a freezer full of venison.
that's a good way to be.
I got a freezer full of beef, but it just don't get bought at the store.
Yeah. I like to go to the grocery store and buy stuff in bulk and cut it at home myself.
Yes.
I'd freeze it and all
We've
that kind of
done that.
stuff. I priced a whole rib loin. Just guess. I mean, I don't know what the weight of it was. That would probably help. But this whole rib loin was like $237 or something like that. And I was just, I mean, it just, even at that price, if you take it home and trim it and cut it yourself, it's still not worth it.
No.
Nope.
I paid $22.99 for 2 boneless ribeyes this
Yes.
weekend. I mean, it's high.
Was it Food City or Publix? I can't remember if it was Albertville or Gunnersville. I went through there the other day and just glanced. There was 2 ribeyes in a pack. Now they were meaty. They were pretty good size, but $60-something for 2 steaks in one wrapper out on the case, not the prime cut that you got to go get out of the
Glass case.
The glass case.
Yeah.
This is what's out there for everybody, and my jaw hit the floor.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, what has happened?
Yeah.
And then Dad told me about us selling that load and what they brought, and I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
God, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for our cattle farmers. They're making good money right now,
Yeah.
especially if they had cattle before the market went crazy.
Yes.
But people trying to
Get in.
It's like
You can't do it.
it's like buying high in the stock market and hoping it goes higher.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
That's why I'm curious to see how this goes. I want to see what happens out of this. And Taco Bell, was about to get even higher.
Yeah.
20 years ago we could eat there for $3. Now
Those days are over.
Now it's 20.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's about to be 40.
Not even sure if what they're selling us is beef either.
Grown in a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's see. Third question here. You've kind of alluded to this a little bit already, but maybe expand a little bit more. But
Sure.
What are your typical borrowers today? These first-time land buyers, experienced farmers, investors. What are they using the loans for?
Okay. So I feel like the majority of applicants we get nowadays are people buying that 10, 15, 20 acre hobby farm range of
Okay.
land to
Gotcha.
homestead on, build a house, raise a family. You know, we see a lot of those. And then mixed in between those are folks that are getting into farming, making farming their primary source of income,
Okay.
whether that be cattle or poultry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like when you say the homestead, is that like I got a few yard birds running around and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and some goats and some whatever that sort of thing?
Yeah, most of the time it goes in, they buy the land, they pay on it for a few years, live in the current home that they're in, and then, 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, they come back and say, all right, we're ready to build a house on this place.
Mm-hmm.
They'll build a house on it and then, start their whatever little agricultural operation they're going to have, as far as, maybe it be a handful of cattle or a chicken coop or whatever else. We love seeing people get into agriculture.
Yeah.
Because the fear that I have in our industry is I don't know exactly what the age is of the median agricultural producer is in the state of Alabama, but it's up there.
Yeah.
And
It ain't good.
And
It ain't getting no younger.
No, and it's scary to think about, because what happens if the third generation or the fourth generation behind these guys don't take over that operation? Where are we getting our food from?
Yep.
So that's always a fear that I have, and I love seeing young people get into agricultural.
Yeah. I mean, I saw somebody post this on social media, and it's like, I don't think you should take your life advice from Facebook or anything like that, but every now and then somebody will share some wisdom, and I think that, like, my generation, I think they're going to be the ones that, like, make the circle back to, like, how the olden days of, like, hey, there's such additives and such preservatives and just garbage in the food that we eat now. It's like, we're going to be the generation that starts to, like, make their own bread again and, like, you know what I mean? Like, raise their own, like, animals and slaughter, you know what I mean? Just that sort of stuff, because, like you said, like, I don't know where this goes after it, because, like you said, the average age of your full-time farmer, I mean, what is it?
It's up there.
In
I would
the
say
late 50s?
I would say early
60s?
50s. Probably.
I would say early, yeah.
Early
50s. And every little industry is a little different. I know I was talking to some of the guys in the poultry business, and they were talking about egg houses, and the average age around here of the producers that are doing egg houses, and it was like upper 60s.
Yeah.
It was, it was way up there, because I know nothing about egg houses.
You talking about commercial laying hens or breeders?
Laying hens.
Laying hens.
Yeah. I know nothing about them, but I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Either side of the egg
either one
is a lot of work.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that's a fear that I have, and First South is taking steps to kind of encourage young folks to get into agriculture. I'm actually this week I'm heading down to Montgomery to the State FFA convention to go down there and meet with kids in high school to tell them about what we do, and what we're needed for if y'all need us at some point in time in the future. And then we also have a new program called First Steps by First South, and it's just a way that we can try to extend our credit to young folks or beginning folks, people wanting to get into agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm just speaking from my personal experience, but I realize that most farmers, it's like you're doing that because that's what your dad did primarily, and that was taught to you and that sort of stuff. But, like, for me, I know that if you weren't raised doing that kind of stuff, if you said be a cattle farmer or a chicken, like, that sounds really intimidating.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like, where do I even begin?
Well, it's
Where
not
do I
something
start?
that somebody's just going to randomly decide to go into, I don't think.
No.
I mean,
You don't see much of it. You'll see some random people go in the poultry side.
Yeah.
Because it's, I guess the perception is they generate so much revenue that people look at it and go, oh, yeah, I'll do that. They don't realize they're married
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
to them.
It's work.
Unless you're a big enough operation where you're paying folks to manage your farm, and there's plenty of those around. We got some massive farms, or owners around here, but it's just, I don't know, man. I don't see a lot of people young people get into the cattle business as much as I do the poultry.
Yeah. Well, poultry's about the only way on paper that you can make something pencil out, make a farm pay for itself. And there's a level of security in poultry because you're under contract with an integrator that they're not guaranteeing you pay, but if you take care of the birds, you're going to get a certain check at the end of the flock. So there's a little bit more security there, but your cattle farmers, your row crop farmers, and row crop's a different animal in itself. To get started in that, you're talking a several $1 million capital investment.
Yeah,
and it's
your
it's
equipment.
impossible.
Well, that's what I meant. Not necessarily the experience and like knowing what to do, but just the financial.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, dude, I don't have that kind of money.
No.
Where do I even start?
And that's why I've always said farmers are the most faithful people, because they go out in the field, they put seeds in the ground, and they're just praying that it comes up. Of course, they're doing everything they can to make that happen,
Sure.
but you got to have faith.
Yeah.
You also got to have a good lender.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's several farmers I've talked to a few around here that they were considering not even planting.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the rain we've had.
Oh my goodness.
And maybe you and I've talked about it with somebody.
Yep.
There is a drop dead point during the year that if they plant after, they can't get insurance.
Yeah,
on
I know one
particular
farmer
crops.
right now that's got less than a quarter of what he had anticipated planted, and he said if it's not in the ground in the next few days, it's not going to do it.
I
And
believe that day was yesterday.
it
and
was.
that's what I thought.
It was.
There's a lot of, probably a lot of crops, at least in our part of the world, that may not go in the ground.
Yeah, we got
because of that.
in northwest Alabama, depending on your location, we got between 13 and 21 inches of rain just in the month of May.
I think our highest city here was Gunnersville, and I think it was around 18 and a half.
That's right.
Just an
That's
absurd
Average
amount of
year is
rain.
like 3.8.
Yeah.
So you look at the moisture.
And then you think about, we just talked about what, grain not being produced. So what's that going to do to grain futures and prices?
for the cattle industry.
And then how's that going to impact the cattle industry?
It's a
that's
domino.
already just dumb money.
Yeah, it's a domino effect. The input costs for cattle right now are astronomical too.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure with the grain shortage, probably going to be even higher next year.
Yes. Yeah.
Or in the months to come.
And everything's just more expensive now. The only thing I think I've seen come down that we use as a quote unquote input there on our farm is maybe diesel fuels come down.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Baler twine's up, fertilize is up even though petroleum's down. Feeds up, equipment's up, service calls are up.
I just purchased fertilizer a few days ago and was quite shocked at how low it was.
Yeah, it does
I was
depend,
thinking that it was going to be worse than it actually was.
It does depend on what you get.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But it's not as cheap as everybody was thinking and hoping that it was going to be.
Yeah.
Kind of off topic, but do you guys ever sit around and think that we might be in the new norm?
It scares me.
I'm afraid we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially you look out there in the driveway and, $100,000 trucks. They all cost that much.
Yeah. Yep.
Tractors are through the roof.
Oh my goodness.
And unfortunately,
$100,000
it's
to $200,000, depending on what you buy.
You got to have it. It's not optional.
Yes.
It's something you have to have
Yep.
to do your job.
That's right.
Yeah, and we don't do a whole lot of mechanical stuff in our business, but we've got tractors, grain drills, row planters, fertilizer buggies, hoppers, the gamut of everything, just the little stuff we do.
Yeah.
You're looking at several $100,000 worth of inventory just to plant for wildlife.
Yeah.
Just goof off.
Then you take the step up to actual row crop farmers.
Yeah.
That piece of machinery riding down the road that everybody's pissed off about riding behind costs more than the car they're in, their house, and probably everything else they own too.
Yeah. And the section of mile that they're driving on.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
and they're looking at that guy. I wish this poor ass farmer would get out of the way. And that fella up there sitting in that seat, if he's not a hired hand, could probably hand you folding money that pay off your bills.
Absolutely.
People don't realize what it takes to be a successful farmer.
Nope.
It's a lot of hard work and dedication, and again, a lot of faith. I mean, it's a scary industry because you're so reliant on forces that you can't control.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was at the church, that was the thing we would say privately in our staff meetings all the time. We didn't say it a whole lot in front of everybody else, but it's like, work like it depends on you and pray like it depends on God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You do everything you possibly can, and then at the end of the day, like, God, I really hope you bless this. I hope this works. You know.
Well, and from a farming standpoint, these days, you don't see privately held farms that's all they're doing is farming on their privately held ground.
That's right.
You can't make it anymore.
Nope.
You can't go buy land and farm it and make it anymore. These folks are farming thousands of acres. It's, they own a lot of it, but don't own, the majority, if I had my guess.
Yeah.
And then you've got these big contract farmers, big conglomerates. The day of the family farmer is dying. I mean, it's coming quick.
And that scares me for cattle producers because they're trying to kind of push contract cattle production, and you've got a lot of farmers in our area that they don't necessarily rely on their cattle income, but it's nice to have.
That's it. That's us.
And you don't want to see that taken away from the family farmer because that's some people's dreams, that's some people's goals, and that's what we finance, and I'd hate to see that disappear.
Yeah, I mean, at which point it becomes contract growing, for cattle. We'll sell or plant trees on our pasture land here, and we'll buy something else and do something else.
There you go.
Yep. Well, that kind of sets up somewhat of a segue here, but this next question here, what are some common myths or misunderstandings people have about the financing farmland or rural property? Is there anything in particular that maybe people, kind of have a misconception of, or?
I'm trying to think if there is one. Matt and I were discussing one before we went live about, the appraisal process, that, appraisals are always necessary, and that's not the case. We try to operate, unless it's a sticky circumstance or a weird situation, we don't always have to have an appraisal, especially if the loan amount's less than $250,000.
Oh, okay.
Because in our market and in our industry, land is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the definition of value.
Yeah.
Or what's somebody willing to pay for it.
Yeah. And unless it's a really weird circumstance, if there's, some improvements on the property and it's on the tax card, and the evaluator assessment of them is valued up to over 40% of the parcel's total value, then we'll probably get it appraised just to make sure that the breakdown's right. And just, if people want an appraisal, we'll get one done, but it's not always necessary. It's not always a must.
Yeah. I'll say this: it's a common misconception for us, is that going through that process takes forever and is complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, what, less than a week?
Yeah.
Generally
2 to 3 weeks at worst case scenario, and that's
if it's difficult.
If it's a difficult appraisal.
Yeah.
And another common misconception and myth is that a survey is always required. So
always recommended, people.
It's recommended,
but not required.
It's recommended. It does add an additional cost and an additional time element to the process, but we always try to get around having a survey getting done, just because I like to save people money. So we have a software program in our office where we can actually plat the legal description to a piece of property, and if it's got good corners, good boundary lines, good point of beginning, we can typically work around having to get a survey. And that's something that we always try to do on the front end too. Like if somebody sends me a legal description for a property, or if I pull a deed off the public record website, I'm immediately going to go plat that legal description and say, yeah, this is a good legal, or hey, we need to get a survey. Yeah. Let's get started on this.
Yeah. And that's a good thing that y'all are checking, stuff like that. And we have the ability to do that too. I lost a customer here a while back over that.
Really?
Yeah. they were interested in a piece of property. They didn't like the feeling they got from the listing agent. They wanted me to do some background on it. I plotted everything out, and I came up with some concerns. And my recommendation to them was, hey, based off of what I'm seeing here, until I have my questions answered, I'm not making an offer and tying this up, because this is going to be a lengthy process, even though you can do due diligence periods and all that. And they really just wanted to push ahead, and I explained why I didn't, and they decided not to go ahead, but then they hem-hawed around and got a little frustrated with me. But I ended up finding that there was not access to that particular piece of property.
That's a big deal, too.
Just plotting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and access for lending is huge.
It's everything.
Yeah.
You got to have a way in and out of that property, and we like to see, at least 20 feet, but 30 feet's, that's more ideal. If you don't have access, you legally can't get on and off of your property.
Yeah.
And
Which is terrible.
Yeah.
And in Alabama, look, there's ways to alleviate that. You can't be held out as an owner in Alabama, but doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Right.
May get expensive, bad feelings with neighbors, the whole nine. But if you don't have access and you want to, legally speaking, you're going to get access. The court's going to grant you access.
Absolutely.
Unless there's some kind of extenuating circumstance.
Yeah.
But that costs money.
Absolutely.
Well, and I realize it's probably not comparing apples to apples, but it's not really a myth, but just the experience that I've had of dealing with an appraisal, even for our home here, it's not always been the most pleasant process. And whoever that person is or that entity is, I feel like that person wields a lot of power.
A tremendous amount of
It's
power.
a make or break.
Yeah, my sister and brother-in-law built a house a couple years ago, and y'all have heard me talk about this, I think, on the podcast. But the initial appraisal came back, and now that house is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood, I'm just going to say, of everything under beam, maybe 4,500 square feet, counting the garage, everything. Well, it came back, the appraisal was like, I can't remember what, it was like 365 or 355 or 65,000. And I go, my brother-in-law's telling me about it, and I'm like, Logan, that's not even $100 a square foot, man. There's no way that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it came back as. I'm like,
Wrong.
yeah. I mean, there's no possible way. And they built like on the probably like year 2 of COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When interest rates were down, but materials were through the roof.
Yeah, and people need to keep in mind that you've worked in this industry. That's why you can say there's no way it was $100 square foot.
Yes, yeah.
So,
I mean, of course, I don't talk about it much, but I used to work with Dad doing HVAC stuff, and so we know a lot of builders.
The home building process.
I mean, and if you go price that stuff out to any builder anywhere, even if you try to build your house yourself, there is no way you are building a home of any kind for $100 a square foot anymore.
Now, that's right.
And anyway, I was just like, dude, you're going to have to call them back and have them, and they did. They had to go through this big, long, drawn-out process to get a different appraiser to come out, and, of course, added about $135,000 to the value of the home. It was just like.
Was it a standard loan, or was it through VA or FHA or anything?
I want to say that was an FHA loan.
Okay.
It wasn't anything crazy, but
we had a terrible experience. And look, for what they do, I'm glad the VA's around, but apparently, they are not very good at their stuff. Apparently, we had a VA loan that you actually did the package on. Beautiful farm over in East Alabama. The VA appraiser came back under 50% of what it was listed for and what it was sold for. We sold it for real close, or got it under contract real close to what, which one I'm talking about.
I remember now. Yeah.
Yep. But we had another appraiser go out there. Oh, miraculously, it appraises. you know, we were a little high, but the seller wanted to be aggressive on the price, and it ended up appraising right at or just below offered purchase price.
I think it was just below.
I think we brought it down a little bit to be able to meet that, but I mean 50%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we got to talk. I talked to the guy, had a long conversation with him, and he was a nice guy. He just didn't know what he was doing. He's just out of his league doing a farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different than a house.
There's no doubt about it.
Especially that house.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
That
mean,
custom.
A war bunker.
Yeah,
basically.
custom would not begin to describe that place.
Yeah.
That was that was
3
wild.
foot concrete walls everywhere.
Yes, nuclear fallout.
Oh yeah,
shelter.
it was.
I
that was
never got the
incredible.
chance to go see that place, but
You need to.
I'd like to.
We need to call him up and go over and look at it
Yeah,
in the spring and kill a turkey.
that'd be
There
nice.
you
Hey,
I know the last time I was on that farm, I was talking to the then owner, and it was during turkey season, and I had to stand there and have a conversation with him with a turkey gobbling his head off 75 yards in his yard.
I wouldn't do it.
Just stand there looking at us gobbling.
I couldn't do it.
Can't.
There's no way I
I'm
couldn't do
sorry,
it.
I'm too distracted.
I'd have had to say, "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
Oh me. Okay, we got one more here. What does the lending process look like for someone interested in buying farmland or recreational property?
Okay.
How's it different from a traditional home mortgage?
So it's pretty similar, start to finish. You know, first off, what we recommend people doing is coming to us and saying, you know, I'm interested in buying a piece of property for this purpose. I'm going to buy 10 acres to build a house on. I'm going to buy 40 acres to hunt on. I'm going to buy 35 acres to build a poultry house on. Come to us, get pre-approved. Let's check out your finances. Let's see what we're dealing with as far as credit goes. Let's get you pre-approved, and then if you come to us with zero knowledge about how to buy land, I'm going to refer you to somebody like Jeremy. We'll get you pre-approved for a certain amount, send you to Jeremy. Jeremy's going to start the process of you trying to find your piece of property. You know, once that property is found, a contract's entered into on. Jeremy's going to send me a copy of the sales contract, and we're going to order title work, and appraisal if necessary. Once the title work comes back, we try to get deals done within a 30 to 45 day window, depending on how complex the situation is. Or
And y'all are able to do that right now.
Yeah.
Pretty steady. I mean, and I say y'all, I'm talking about the closing side. Lenders and closing attorneys, 30, 45 days right now is the target number.
Yeah.
There for a while, it was 2.5 months.
yeah, and we're pretty much, for the most part, always ready way before that.
Yeah.
Title work and appraisal and surveys and things like that are generally the elements that add, you know, more length to that process. But you know, and attorneys here lately have been extremely busy because the market's so hot.
It is.
And you know, they're running 4 to 6 weeks on title work right now. But as long as we can get, you know, title back in that you know 30-day window, we're going to closing. So start to finish, get pre-approved. Come see me. Come see me what I can get you pre-approved for.
That and from the real estate side, that part's huge.
Yep.
Get a pre-approval letter so that when you show up and you meet a real estate agent, you can hand that to them and say, I'm pre-approved for X.
Yep.
And they can put that in the file, because occasionally
Looking for property you can't buy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and part of it, occasionally you're going to run into a situation where 2 or 3 people may want the same property. One of them's pre-approved, 2 of them are not. They're immediately going to go to that pre-approved person and say, okay, let's figure out, because we know they're probably a couple weeks out from being able to even make an offer unless it's a cash deal.
Yeah, it's a great negotiating tool. I'll send you one with our letterhead on it, with my signature on it. I've got you pre-approved for X amount. Go shopping.
Yeah.
And then call me when you find your place. Call me when you find your property. And us at First South, we've got, you know, excellent relationships with people that are very, you know, versed in the industry, and they can find you your piece of property. And I think that's also paramount, because you don't want to go buy a piece of property that you may not have the time to or the knowledge to be able to you know, do your research on. I feel like, especially depending on what purpose you're looking for. If you're looking for 10 acres that you're going to build a house on, it's maybe not that big of an issue. But if you're looking for a like this Jackson County tract you're talking about, if you're looking for, you know, a large acreage tract that you're wanting to hunt and kind of build a compound out there on, you need to have somebody in your corner that knows land, knows all the ins and outs, and can know how to get the deal done.
That's been a topic of discussion in our side of the industry quite a bit recently, probably because of a lot of the NAR changes and stuff like that. But you know, I am not knocking residential real estate agents here, but most of them don't know land product.
Yeah.
You know, they know enough to be dangerous, but the problem is you don't want them to be dangerous. I know enough to be dangerous with a house. I don't need to be dangerous with a house. I need to know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
If you're searching for land, you need to really vet a land agent. If you're searching for a poultry farm, you need to vet somebody that understands and knows poultry farms. If you want to buy a lake house, get somebody that specializes in lake houses. We see it a lot, and it's frustrating when people on one of the deals we're working right now, guy says, hey, my sister's a residential agent. We'd like her to represent us. And, you know, we've already gone through a lot of steps, and we're like, no, number one, it's not, you know, at this point, not going to happen because we've already done all the work and you've got a buyer's agreement.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there's no signed buyer's agreement, that's where the NAR change has come around. But you'll have a lot of folks that'll come out and look at a piece of ground with you and go, okay, well, now I've got a family member, a friend that I want to represent me. And one, guys, don't do that. Don't ask an agent to go show you something, do their job, and then turn around and say, hey, I've got a brother, I've got a cousin that I want to represent me. I'm pretty sorry.
Yeah.
You know, that particular agent, whoever it was, you know, was doing their job to go show you a piece of ground, and now you want to give their pay to somebody else.
Yeah, don't rip it
And
off
we see a lot of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to save a dollar.
Yeah, well, and the NAR is going to change that.
Yes.
This thing that the lawsuit that I'm referring to, that's going to change that because now buyers have to sign before they can go see or make an offer.
Yeah.
So that's going to alleviate a lot of that, but there's still going to be people that want to work it that way.
Yeah.
No doubt. Last one here. What's your biggest piece of advice for someone looking to buy land for the first time, whether it's for farming, hunting, or investment?
Patience. Patience. It's going to take you some time to find that right piece of property, and that's what, you know, me and my family are dealing with right now. Is we're looking for a place to call home, and we've been looking for 5 years. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, if you find a piece that, you know, you're going to buy to hunt on or wreck property, if it's in the area that you want to be in, okay. If you're looking for a place to set up shop, set up home
forever, take
your time. It's going to come available. It's just going to take time and research, and you maybe go knock on some people's door. You know, they may have 15 acres that they don't do nothing with, and you might go knock on their door, and they might say, hey, yeah, we'll sell you that piece of property. But patience is key.
Gotcha. Jeremy, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah. Yeah. Patience is definitely a key. One thing that I'll say, knocking on doors, that's a great way to find land. If you do, get a closing attorney or a real estate agent to walk you through that process. Don't do it on your own.
Yeah. Or call a lender.
Yes.
You know,
get some help.
A knowledgeable lender can walk you through that process. There's been numerous times, one that you kind of helped facilitate in the shadows, doing a deal just between a buyer and a seller with no agent represented. You know, we've got templates of sales contracts. We can walk you through the process, making sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted. You know, you don't want to go at it alone, especially if you don't have any experience doing it.
Yep.
And we do that not necessarily free of charge, but if you're financing with us, and you know, I'm more than happy to help somebody do that.
Well, look, and agents, you know, we get paid for that, but if you will ask up front and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you mind helping me?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be agents, and I'm one of them. I'll help you do anything you want to do. And there's going to be times that I'm going to be like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, but this is my business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to, be an agent. But if you need some advice, most of these agents are going to answer the phone and give you any bit of advice they can to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, there's a few that won't, and there's not many. I've had a couple that were just kind of odd about that, but like I picked up the phone and talked to an agent last week that I hadn't talked to in 6 months.
Yeah.
And just like, hey man, need a little advice on who to use for inspection.
Yeah.
I had numbers in my phone in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the same way, to the public.
Yeah.
Need a little help, reach out.
Yeah. Yeah, we obviously are not in the business to do everything for free, but
Sure. Right.
we obviously don't mind lending a helping hand whenever we need to. Because before I started in the lending industry, there was things that I never could have even known about unless you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to provide an excellent customer service experience for the people that are buying a piece of property, because it's expensive and it's your money that I'm dealing with, in a sense. So I like to be as open and transparent and as helpful as I possibly can be. And if there's land questions or real estate questions that I don't know the answer to, then I've got people in my corner that I can call, and we can get stuff figured out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the things that stuck in my head, and I'll butcher how he said it because it's been so long, but a guy that most of us in here know, very successful developer here, Patrick Lawler, told me one day when we were eating lunch, having a little meeting, I was asking him about business, and he said, I have found it to be true time and time again that the best opportunities that come your way are going to be at the most difficult times for you to make those happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, make them happen.
Yep.
And we're going through that right now.
Yep.
We're not going to spill the beans on that, but I'm going through that right now.
Yeah. I feel that. And that's the kind of thing, especially with land. If you're on the fence, trying to figure out whether or not buying land's the right thing for you to do, or if you're just halfway in, halfway out type deal, and it's a piece that is in the area that has the qualities and the aspects of land that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's cliche, but they're not making any more of it.
No. Well, as it Will Rogers said, it's in Joe Blackburn's signature, our qualifying company broker down at our main office. I think it's Will Rogers that says, don't wait to buy land and wait.
Yep.
Something similar. But I mean that's really it. Of course, I think about being a younger fella, where we used to hunt in Tennessee. I remember that place selling for $300-400 an acre when I was a teenager, and I think back now or to that time, thinking about it now, I'm like, I'm thinking about how many acres we had. I'm like, I could write a check for that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was just as out of reach as it is now if I was trying to buy it now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find something that's in reach, and it's what you want to do, think long and hard. Don't just walk away. Don't let tough times scare you.
Well, I've had a conversation with one of my clients about it, but they have a home on Smith Lake. And obviously it's beautiful, but it's not like this giant, extravagant, crazy. I mean, it's a home and they do have their own boat dock, their own stuff. But he was just like, man, I gotta like what Dave Ramsey has to say about saving money, and I'm not trying to be an idiot with my money and all this kind of stuff. But he said, my wife's mother died, and the deal was, there was always like this. Just over the hill, just one day we'll do this, and a few years down the road we'll do that. And it's just like, man, when is one day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When is one day going to happen? And he just said, we have this lake house, and it's hard to pay for it, man. He was just being transparent, and he was just like, it's tough. Like, it's hard for us to make it happen every month. But my wife just looked at me one day and was like our kids are home. They get to go out on the boat in the summertime on the weekends. Like, we get to enjoy that as a family. Like, when is
it's
one
worth
day? Just do it. You know what I mean? And so, again, it's not an excuse to go be an idiot and just blow money.
That's right.
But at the same time, something like that, like, y'all have heard me say it before, but like, worth and value are not the same thing.
That's
exactly right.
And something is worth more than its value. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, y'all. This is an agent, and it's been back to back.
Uh-oh. I think we're about to wrap her up anyways, but
I
oh, well, never mind. We ain't wrapping it up nothing. All right.
What did he just say?
He said, I got something for Joseph.
Oh.
But anyway, him saying that, it's just like, she never got to experience the one day. She's passed on now. And so I think it just makes sense to sometimes weigh it out and go, you know what, like, it is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And it's not, but this is the best thing for us to do here and now,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's so cliche, but it's so true. They're not making any more land. And the longer you wait, the bigger possibility there is a chance that there's going to be a mobile home park built on that place.
Well, and especially what I've seen time and time again is people had the opportunity to purchase land that maybe bordered something they already own. A piece they've been waiting on. It's available, and they let it go. They let it slip through the cracks.
I missed this part.
And they generally end up regretting that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because it's never going to be available again.
Well, y'all have all been to my place. And it looks great from a distance. But if you're standing there looking out and see the trailer park that's there now, off one side, my in-laws had no idea that we were ever going to come back, this direction. They sold that place and dang trailer park on it.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to buy it back before it got so loaded and just didn't think anything of it. And it's, it's not a problem, but I just wish I had bought it first. It won't be there long anyway. Yep. Gunnersville, all the mountain views are getting bought up and big houses put on it, so somebody will buy it eventually and do the same.
Yeah.
Just like they will with my place. Somebody will eventually write me a check for it that I can't
turn down.
I can't turn down. Do you know now, and you see it because you're in the industry, I get probably 2 or 3 mailers a week, but I get text messages every single day, multiple, every single day, about wanting to buy land in this part of the world.
Yep.
Crazy.
Just, and it's insulated to North Alabama.
I don't get those texts. I don't have any money to buy land with, so.
Well, I don't have it to buy it with either, until Joseph gives me some.
Yeah.
But it's amazing at the people that are just offering money. They've not seen your place. They're not gonna see it.
Mm-mm.
They're just offering you a paycheck, a way out, if you want one. And let me say this for folks. It may get you out of trouble, but if somebody has sent you a letter that's got an offer on there, your property's worth way more than what they are offering you.
Yep.
Otherwise, they would not be offering that to you.
Yep.
They've already figured out what they're going to do with that place.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
And I feel like that's what's driving the real estate market and the prices here in our area is the demand for land in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huntsville's growth with all the new FBI, coming, and I don't know. Do we know what's happening with Space Command yet?
No.
I didn't think we did. But still, just FBI, I think was original numbers. I think was around 4,000. I don't know what it is now, and I don't know if they're still bringing everybody, here or what. Yeah. I hadn't asked any of the guys I know that are staying up with it. Well, heck, one of my agents he was an agent. Works for the FBI now. But it's this part of the world. We're insulated from not selling.
Yeah. The demand here is just it's unbelievable. In Albertville, I mean, we all, well,
The
all of
rentals.
us with the exception of Matt, kind of grew up around Albertville, and it's incredible to look and see, you know, what I saw in high school, what you saw in high school, what Albertville has turned into now. I mean, it's massive.
And look, Albertville has paid a cost for its growth. I don't know when it's going to bite, but my opinion of Albertville is it's going to bite, and we're going to have trouble here.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well,
It's just too many people for the infrastructure that we have.
That's exactly right.
It's going to cause us some trouble down the road.
Jeremy, you got anything?
I
Throw
do.
it.
I got a handful of things I want to get out. All right. So one, if somebody were to be thinking about buying a track, and of course I know the answer to this, but I just want you to talk about it.
Sure.
What's a rough idea about what it's going to cost them for financing through you guys, just under normal situation?
Okay. You want to throw a number out there? Just say $200,000.
Just say a $200,000 loan.
All right, $200,000. We'll call it a land purchase.
Yep.
So we're going to loan 85% of that. So you're looking at a loan amount that comes out to $170,000. That's the maximum amount that we'll loan on a $200,000 land purchase. Your fees and costs associated with that, just a rough estimate, you're going to be looking at an origination fee of 1% of the loan amount. So $1,700 for an origination fee. First South Farm Credit is a member-owned cooperative. One of our fees at closing is a $1,000 stock purchase.
Yep.
I tell people it's a fee. It's called a fee.
Yeah, don't squall about it, folks.
It's a fee, but let me tell you, it's more of an investment.
Yep.
Because over the life of your loan, we share profits with our members, and you're going to receive a patronage dividend. Jeremy's received it every year since he's been a customer at First South Farm Credit. And you go ask our poultry farmers that owe us $3 million how big of a difference that makes at the end of the year. So we're going to pay you patronage dividends every year. So $1,000 stock purchase on top of your $1,700 origination fee, you're at $2,700 plus your $30,000 down payment.
Yep.
Depending on the severity or the complication of the tract itself, if we need an appraisal, you're looking anywhere from $500 to $750 on that.
Yep.
If there's no appraisal involved, what you're going to do is pay a fee of $200 for a valuation fee, and that's paying me for my time to do, my work as far as gathering all the deed, the tax cards, platting the legal description for the property, making sure that we're not going to need a survey.
Which, by the way, y'all, doesn't happen in 30 minutes.
No.
So
No, it takes a little while.
yeah.
So you're looking at, what's that, $2,700? No, $1,700,000, $200, so $2,900 plus your $30,000 down payment. So $32,900, and then on top of that, you're looking at closing costs and an attorney somewhere around $1,500 maybe.
Maybe.
So
on a 200,000, maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So those costs included. So always budget for, if First South Farm Credit's doing your loan, 85% loan to value. So you're looking at 15% down, and then budget for 18 to 20 to include all of your closing costs and fees paid out of pocket. So that would be what you're looking at as far as
Right.
cost goes.
Another big one that's always asked: what happens when the rate drops?
When the rate drops, and let me go back to the stock purchase again. I forgot to mention this. So
Yep.
it's called a fee, but I tell people it's an investment, because over the life of your loan, again, you're going to receive those patronage dividends. And once you pay us off, that $1,000 is coming right back to you. So we're retiring your stock, we're paying you your $1,000 back, and you're debt free from us. All right, and then going back to what you said as far as interest rates going down.
Yep.
So how many of us in here have traditional mortgages that get sold every year, every other year? You don't know who you're paying, all this and that and the other. All right.
Everybody.
Yeah. So First South Farm Credit does not sell our loans on the secondary market. So if you finance a piece of property with us, right now, again, rates are 7 3/4 to 8%. All right. Again, go back to date your interest rate, marry your piece of property. All right. So if you finance that at the high interest rate right now, if rates drop, we can do in-house note modifications without having to go back to an attorney's office and do a full-blown refinance. So you're looking at thousands of dollars of savings just in that alone. So if rates go down 0.5% and we have the ability to reprice your note and save you a little bit of money on interest, we're going to do that.
Yep.
And generally you're looking at a $150 to $200 fee for that. So that's $150 to $200 over.
Basically just paying for your time to do the paperwork.
Exactly. And everything of that can be done DocuSign. So you don't even have to come to my office. We don't have to go to an attorney's office. And it takes literally about 30 minutes to do that. So.
Nice.
By the way, guys, that's big.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
That's real big.
Especially right now.
That's a big one.
Especially right now.
Yep. That solidifies a lot of loans for y'all.
Mm-hmm. It's a big selling point. I mean,
get it done.
I just closed on a transaction, or I'm about to close on a transaction. Guy's building some chicken houses, and he had 35 acres and a house financed with some mortgage company out of Texas. You try to call that place and get on the phone with a person, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. And all we were trying to do is get 18 acres released so we could build chicken houses on it. It took 2 months to get that property released. And as long as I'm a lender at First South Farm Credit and I'm your loan officer, if you have a situation, need some money, want to do farm improvements, anything like that, all you got to do is call me on my office phone or on my cell phone, and we can handle that for you in-house. Mm-hmm. You're not having to track down who the heck is my loan officer, where's my loan being held at, how do I get in touch with a real human. Mm-hmm. It's a connection that we build, and I go to every single one of my loan closings just because I want people to be able to put my face with a name. Mm-hmm. And if they need something out of me, then they know I'm a human. I can be get in touch with.
Right.
Yep.
So
yep. That's important.
Yep.
Vital importance. Yep. Okay, that was the two big ones I wanted covered that we didn't get.
Appreciate you asking those. Yeah. Good questions.
Yeah.
No doubt. And didn't you said something about a credit card, something to help with that?
Yeah.
There's several tips, and I am not a credit guru or a financial advisor or anything like that. So don't take anything I say for 100%. But one little thing I've always heard and kind of operated under, credit score is not necessarily a huge deal with us, but you obviously want to have good credit when you apply for a loan. Things to watch out for on credit cards, because I know everybody for the most part has them. I know Matt's obviously an exception, but on your limit for your credit card,
you tell that's what he's wearing.
Shut up! I'm not trying to set any trends here.
You're comfortable.
I'm comfortable.
That's all that matters. No, but one little piece of advice I gave Jeremy the other day that he didn't know, which surprised me. I figured you're a lot wiser than I am.
Well, there's just some things I don't pay that much attention. And I told you, it's not a function that I can't do it. It's just doing it at the right time. Yeah, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But you finish now. I'll kind of tell my side.
Whatever limit you have on a credit card, whether that be $1,000, $2,000, $20,000, always try to keep your credit card balance under half. Because if it goes over half, then it starts dinging your credit. Just because it looks like you've used, more credit than you can actually afford.
Yeah.
Even if you're paying that off every month.
That's right. Yeah. So what?
And see, that was the trap I was in.
Yeah.
And still in. I use my credit card for business, and it's like I was telling y'all earlier. It goes at times full paid, and I got a $25,000 limit. So it's a lot of times it's way up there, but all I do is write a check and pay for it.
Yep.
But I asked him because I knew that I had just paid, all our seed bill, all our chemical bills, our building rents, the whole nine. I'm like, there's $20,000 on my credit card. No question. He said, it needs to be half of your limit. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just write a check for it. So I went and did that. But had I not known, it could have negatively impacted what we were doing.
Yeah, and we're not we are in certain situations, but like your rate's not going to be determined by your credit score. So if you're 700, 750, you're going to get X rate. There's lenders that are like that, and that's where I learned that because I applied for a loan one time, and my credit score was a point below me getting a better interest rate. And I asked the guy, I said, why? Yeah. I said, I've never missed a payment in my life. He said, your credit card balance is higher than half. I said, well, I didn't know that. So little tidbits of information that you kind of pick up along the way that can be helpful. not necessarily with us, but with other lenders.
Yeah.
And I don't know them all. I'm not an expert, but that's certainly
just little red flags to look for here and there.
Look, that's how I.
You want everything in your corner you can get.
Sure,
absolutely.
Man, I use my credit card for business too, and I mean, I don't care if I have to sell organs out of my body to pay. I'm paying that thing off every month.
Yeah,
it will have a zero balance every time I pay it. And it's just like I can't sleep knowing that there's something else from the previous month, on there, whatever. I can't stand it. So
29% interest rate adds up quick.
Oh gosh, yeah, man. I don't like
and see, I mean, y'all know how hectic things are. There's been times I've had a $25,000 bill on credit card and forgot it, and month and a half, 2 months later, I'm like, did I pay that? I didn't pay that. Let me go look. And be like, be like, oh crap! I owe them $400 in interest.
Oh,
that was a stupid oversight.
It happens though. We obviously see folks that have late payments on their credit report, and sometimes we can determine that that's not indicative of repayment history. We understand that life gets in the way. I mean, it is what it is. But
I have been bad about things like that in the past, especially with daggum insurance. About half of my insurance is auto pay, auto draft, and the other comes to an email.
Mm-hmm.
I get so many emails, it gets buried. I mean, luckily, my agent's my neighbor, and he'll call me with, hey, you need to pay this, but pay what? Because I didn't see the email. He's like, it's there. I'm like, oh, crap.
We don't miss those.
Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, I don't anything else, anything you think of?
Man, I'm trying to think. We've covered a lot. We covered a lot of the same topics we did on the first podcast, but a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you guys for having me back on.
Oh, man.
I really enjoyed this relationship. Enjoyed being around you guys and learning from y'all. Y'all are super knowledgeable about things that are relevant to my industry. In any way I can help y'all or any of the listeners reach out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we appreciate the support on the podcast too. It helps us to be able to do this. It's hard to.
Well, and a perfect example, I was telling, I think them, and I know I told Walter and Joe, but the seller that you're working on the deal for now, that particular seller found us on here, and we've listed right at 1,000 acres.
How about that?
In 2 states.
That's awesome
for that guy.
Yep.
For a listener.
It's pretty cool.
Love it.
So shout out to him without naming him.
Shout out to you. You are.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to see y'all guys succeed. I mean, it's crazy how many followers y'all have amassed in such a short period of time. I mean, it's awesome.
It depends on who you ask.
We need 25,000 more of them.
Yeah.
So
you're getting there.
Yeah.
Slow growth. Slow growth is good growth.
Yeah. If you guys have not already, please, it helps us out a whole lot if you will follow, like, share, subscribe.
We need the subs.
Things, man. We need them bad.
Yeah,
and,
we need the subs.
We really enjoy doing this. It just makes it difficult when we're not able to make any money from the content that we're making because we say it's, just internally a lot. Every time that we say yes to this podcast, we say no to something that would have paid us.
No to money.
So it helps us out if you guys share it. And, if you know somebody that's looking for land or somebody that's kind of just on the fence about, I don't even know where to get started, whatever. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have some resources, here with Jeremy and Bray and I don't know, maybe Matt. I don't know.
Matt's not going to finish his license. This is the 14th time you've taken the course?
I'm too loud.
Hot.
Yeah. I had free time to do my course, so I knocked it out in just a few weeks, and then life hit, and I just have not had the chance to sit down and finish it. I mean, I've got the course completed. I just have to take the exam.
You didn't have time to take the exam at the beach?
No.
But he had time to go to the beach.
That's right.
I didn't go to the beach but once.
Priorities.
He went to Walmart and picked out them shoes and socks.
He ain't gonna leave that alone, is he?
When Jeremy gets something on his mind, he can't keep it quiet.
Well, guys, we really do appreciate it, and stay tuned. We've still got some stuff in the works, and as soon as we get that
we
stuff
just gave
off,
up.
we just. But when we get it off the ground, we'll let you know. But we will see y'all on the next one.
Peace out.
See you.
Out.